Hey there, it's John from Heroes and Legends, and today is the 4th day of official Modern Masters previews. And has it slowed down? Has it started to fall off a little bit? No, as a matter of fact, it's getting bigger and bigger. The hype train's still on the tracks. People very excited about this set. You can see on the title screen, maybe 2 of the biggest cards in the modern era that were revealed in the last 24 hours to be in the set. Huge news, and we have a whole bunch of other cards to talk about, around 30 in total, so I do want to get started pretty quick here. Now, real fast before we get started, if you check out the description below, you'll find some links to our Amazon affiliate store. If you make any purchases through any of the sellers via those links, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. I can't tell you how much that helps, and I do want to say thank you really quickly to all the folks that have pre-ordered booster boxes for Modern Masters through those links. That helps the channel so much, I can't even really begin to tell you, so thank you. Of course, they are still available, but prices are going up. We're kind of at the pinnacle of the hype right now, and you're seeing boxes go for $225, even up to $240. Every once in a while, a cheaper one will sneak in there for a short period of time, so stay vigilant, but for the most part, it seems like the prices are starting to creep really close to the recommended retail price at this point anyway. Another way to help support us is through Patreon, and if you check out the description below, you will find links there as well. And there's details there as to how you can get your hands on this exclusive Heroes and Legends Classic Art Angel token, like you see on the screen there. Alright, having said all that, let's get into the cards for today. We got a lot to talk about. Now, the first one actually isn't a card, but it's a token, and it's a Golem token. And I did want to mention that because we're going to talk about some cards that give us these Golem tokens today. And the first one is, and you might recognize her, it is Blade Splicer. Now, a couple things about this card. First off, financially, it's not a huge card. This is a $2-3 card, right? But it does see modern play. It shows up in Eldrazi and Taxes decks, Nihari Jeskai decks, and every once in a while, some other builds as well. But this is really here for the limited game. Now, we know Azorius colors are going to play around with the Flickr theme a little bit. What a great target for any sort of Flickr ability. Blade Splicer. Get yourself a 3-3 Golem. On top of that, Golems you control get first strike. Fantastic card for limited, and it is a rare. You're not going to see it all the time, but this is the type of card you pick up, maybe pack 1, maybe you open this as your rare, and then you go and draft all the uncommons to surround it to make it even better. And we're going to see a number of very good uncommons that play well with this card in just a moment. And here is one now. It's Flickr Wisp. Now, I'll be honest with you, this surprised me a little bit. I didn't realize this card was going for $3-4 still. And it's an uncommon. It was reprinted actually a number of times over the years, but it was in the first Modern Masters set as well, not in the second one. But even so, the reason it has a decent price tag for an uncommon on it is, again, it does see play. Again, Eldrazi and Taxes decks, sometimes mono white aggro decks. It even sees a lot of Legacy playing Death and Taxes. So this is a card that definitely has some roles out there in constructed formats. Real nice inclusion at uncommon, and again, it obviously works really well with some of these cards that have enters the battlefield effects that we've been seeing in the set. Alright, here's another card that, again, is really more about the limited game. It's Intangible Virtue. Again, you can pick these things up real cheap, probably a quarter all day long, quite honestly. But it does occasionally show up in Modern. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, there was a Orzhov Tokens deck that came in, I think, 6th place. It was in the top 8 of one of the Star City Games IQs. So that's actually kind of cool. So every once in a while it makes a cameo. But let's face it, this card really is about the limited game. Wizards has started to show us that Selesnya has a little bit of a token theme going on, so it's great with that. But there could be some crossover uses for this card as well. Later we're going to look at least one card in blue that makes tokens as well. Alright, next card we have is Master Splicer, and again, not a lot for me to say about this card other than the fact that it's going to be great for you in limited. Now, this is one of the great uncommons you can pick up if you happen to get Blade Splicer, maybe early on in pack 1, for example. Again, value-wise, this is a 25-cent card. It doesn't necessarily see any constructed play or anything, but it's really here to help your limited game along. Alright, now this one's kind of interesting. This is Augur of Abow Loss, and it is printed at Common. This is the first time this card has been printed at Common, which means it is now open to Pauper play. And that's very interesting because it's a pretty powerful card, actually, and I could see this fitting really well into some Pauper decks right off the bat. So that's pretty cool. Again, financially, not a huge card. This was from Magic 2013. It was an uncommon there. Of course, now it's common. Maybe about a quarter to pick these up or less, quite honestly. I actually have seen this played in Modern a couple times in like a Thing in the Ice control style deck. They're not very prevalent, but every once in a while they show up. Alright, another card that's really, again, for the limited game, and it's Compulsive Research. However, it's got some new art, and the art is actually pretty striking. I do like it quite a bit. I like the old art on this card, but there's something about the new art I think they did a really fine job with. Again, it's not a card that's very valuable. You can probably pick this thing up for just pennies. It does see some pauper play, because it was a common in Ravnica, the original Ravnica, as well as the original Conspiracy. This time around, it's uncommon, which I think is fine. I don't really think you need this at common necessarily. I think it's just fine at uncommon. Okay, now we're looking at a card that's a little more financially tangible, and it's Gifts Ungiven. Now, this is a card that was reprinted in the first Modern Masters, not the second one. Still has a nice price tag on it, though, $11 to $12, and it does see Modern play in the Gifts Storm deck. Alright, next card is another real quality uncommon, and it's Serum Visions. This card has an interesting history. It was a common in 5th Dan, and it took forever to get a reprint, and the value just kept going up and up and up because it was heavily played in Modern, of course, still is. And eventually, it did get a reprint as uncommon in Conspiracy Take the Crown, and now it's showing up here, which is a good thing, because it's still $2-3, even with the Conspiracy reprint at uncommon. Still has some value to it. Great to see it here. It will be great and limited, but more importantly, maybe, it sees a ton of play in Modern. I mean, I could list decks for days, quite honestly. Grixis Control, Grixis Delver, Gift Storm, Ad Nauseam, Amulet Titan, Nahiri Jeskai, Azorius Control decks, Esper Planeswalker decks, Copycat, Vengeance, probably a whole bunch more that use this card. I mean, this is maybe one of the most played uncommons/commons in the format right now. I mean, this is crazy. And it also sees play in other formats, too. So, fantastic card. Really happy to see it. Alright, here's another card, again, that's really here for the limited game, and it goes along with the Golem theme we saw earlier. It's Wing Splicer, and again, it's only worth a few cents, but it's really all about limited here. Alright, now here's a big one. You probably recognize it already. Blood Moon. Awesome reprint. I'm really glad they did get this in here. Here's the deal with this card. It was originally from the Dark. You got a reprint in Chronicles, and it made it into Modern because it was in 8th and 9th edition, so it just kind of skirted into Modern. It's a huge part of sideboards in so many different decks, and it was in the first Modern Masters, again, not the second Modern Masters, but it's back again, and it really, really needed a reprint. This card's gone up a lot in the last couple years, actually. It's now around $42, $44 if you want to get one of the more recent copies of it, and again, it's in so many decks. You think Affinity, Grixis Delver, Gift Storm, Vengeance, Boros Prison, Tooth and Nail, sees a lot of legacy play as well, so really nice inclusion at rare here. Alright, here's another actually pretty nice rare, maybe not as valuable as the previous one, but few are. This is Scavenging Ooze, and it actually still has a nice price tag, about $4 or $5. This came originally from a Commander product, then it made it into a standard set, then it went back to a Commander product just recently in Commander 2016. But even with all those printings, there's still a demand for this card. It's a fantastic sideboard card, shows up in Death Shadow decks, Abzan Judd, Abzan Company, Nightfall, Elves, and even some Legacy decks. Fantastic against Reanimation or Dredge strategies. Alright, here's another one of the huge ones. I really believe this card was going to be in here. They took a little time to show it to us, but they finally did, and it's Tarmogoyf. I mean, here's the deal. This card has been reprinted in both of the Modern Masters at Mythic, and even with those reprints, I mean, if you want a Modern Masters 2015 version, it's still running you about $120 at this point. I mean, that's crazy. The deal with this card is not only is it kind of like the crown jewel iconic card, I think, of the Modern era, the Modern format, but it sees a ton of play. And yes, I admit it had a little bit of a lull for a bit as the meta shifted, but it's back now, and it's back in a really big way. I mean, definitely one of the most, if not most played creatures right now in the format, and not to mention the legacy play it sees too. But again, you see this card show up in places like Death Shadow aggro decks, which are very popular, Abzan, Jund, Zoo, Naya Company. A lot of various control decks will run it, but again, like I said, also Legacy and other formats. So here's the thing. I often kind of pondered the idea whether they would ever print this at rare, because I don't feel like it disrupts the limited game or anything like that. It could be interesting even with fetch lands in this particular environment, But they didn't do that. They kept it at Mythic. I don't think it would be game-breaking at Rare, nor do I think it would necessarily crash the price all that bad, because the price is just so high and the demand is so high right now for this card too. Having said that, I mean, this is still the golden ticket. When you open this up, especially if you're lucky enough to get a foil, it's going to be a real good day for you. Alright, well, how do you follow Tarmogoyf? Well, we're going to try. Unfortunately, it's just Vital Splicer. Again, it's just a card that's there for the limited game, and it gives you a golem, so that's actually pretty cool with some of the other cards we looked at today. But really, as opposed to a $120 card, this one's a 16-cent card, but that's alright. Alright, next we have Cruel Ultimatum, and the art you see here is actually the art they used in From the Vault, as well as Commander 2013 when they brought the card into there, but definitely one of my favorite pieces of art. I was kind of wondering how they were going to get Abow Loss in this set. I kind of felt like they were going to, right? Because they really want to just set the stage, I think, for Amonkhet, and this is a great way to do it. I was curious if they would try to put Nicol Bolas Planeswalker in here. It doesn't look like they're going that route, but Cruel Ultimatum is actually pretty cool. Again, it's not super expensive. It's like a 50-cent card. It does show up sometimes in Grixis control decks, though, in the format. Alright, our next card comes to us originally from Ice Age. It's Fiery Justice, and the art you see on it is not the Ice Age or the Time Spiral art. It was a time-shifted card, but this is the art that it got when it went into Commander 2013. It's actually pretty interesting art. As far as the value goes, again, it's only like a 30-cent card. I mean, not huge value attached, and I really can't think of any modern decks that run it. Every once in a while, I'll see it show up in Legacy in a burn deck, but for the most part, I mean, this is here for the limited game and kind of fits into the 3-color themes. Alright, our next card is kind of interesting because it's one of the charms. Now, this is the only one that they've revealed. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get all 10 or anything like that. I'd be kind of surprised if we did. Maybe we'll get a couple others, though. But Is It Charm is one of the more popular ones, and I do like the fact they use the art from the Friday Night Magic promo, which I think is actually really cool. And other than the promo, we haven't seen it on any other printings before. Again, not an expensive card. You can pick these things up for like 50 cents, but they do see some playing like Scape Shift and Vengeance decks, and even some Legacy control decks will run these every once in a while. Alright, the next card is actually a downgrade from Mythic to Rare. It's Niv Mizzet Grecco Genius, and I think this was a good downgrade. This card's only about $1 or $2. Never really found a foothold anywhere. It doesn't see modern play necessarily or anything like that. Again, it's here for the limited game, fits into the multicolor theme pretty well, and that's really why it's here. Alright, next we have another Mythic. It's Olivia Ville. They kept the original art. There it is. And here's the card. This isn't financially huge. I mean, $6, $7, but it does see a lot of play in Modern Jund, so at least it passes that test. Alright, next we have another Mythic, and this one is Voice of Resurgence. This was actually Wedge from the Mana Sources preview card that he previewed late last night. And it's a great one. I mean, it's seeing tons of modern play right now. Very big card. It is basically the one card that's holding value in the Dragon's Maze set. And that's saying something because that set was printed very, very high. That whole block was printed very high, but especially Dragon's Maze being a small set, it had a high print run, and there weren't a lot of constructed viable cards in there. There were some really good Commander cards, but with a print run like that, most Commander players only need one copy, so a lot of those cards didn't really flourish financially. This card, on the other hand, did really, really well. It sees play in Abzan Company, Nightfall, Abzan Evolution, Naya Company, and a lot of other places. Really nice inclusion here. Alright, let's move on to some artifacts, and if you recognize the art on the screen, you might play a little Magic the Gathering online, maybe some cubes, but this is Dimir Signet, and the art that you're seeing here for the card actually never made it onto a paper card until now, and as a matter of fact, we actually get all 10 signets, and they're going to be at uncommon. So a few things about this card. They were originally printed in the first Ravnica as commons. They've been bumped up now to uncommon, which I think is fine. Like, you don't want to get too flooded with these in your limited game, so I think uncommon's a good good place for them. Over the years, they have upgraded the art as they move these into supplemental products. So with the exception of Dimir Signet, we have seen all the new art in other places, usually like Commander products and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, Dimir Signet just hasn't been in a recent enough product to get the art upgrade. But now it has. So that's actually pretty interesting. I do love these pieces of art. I think they are all pretty amazing, actually. As far as values go, they vary a little bit, basically, depending on how many times they were reprinted in supplemental products. So some are just a few cents. Others, though, will run you $2, sometimes $2.50. So there's a little bit of value attached to these for sure, and they're great cards. They do every once in a while sneak into a modern deck, even sneak into a legacy deck. You'll see these show up every once in a while in different places, but they're fantastic for Commander players. They're fantastic for cubes, especially power cubes if you want to have a ramp element in there that also gives you some colors. This is an awesome way to do it. This is a real nice inclusion. There's a lot of players that would like to get their hands on more copies of these particular cards. Really nice placement at Uncommon, I think. All right, we got another big card to talk about. Probably recognize this art, but it actually has some new art. And it is Cavern of Souls. All right, a couple things. Where do I begin with this one? First off, right off the bat, this is about a $55 card, right? It's never been reprinted. It never even got an expedition, which really shocked me. Like, I couldn't believe that wasn't an expedition, but it didn't. We're seeing it here with new art. The art actually looks pretty striking. I think that could be a pretty cool foil, actually. Here's the downside. It's been upgraded from rare to mythic. So I'm happy it's here. I'm happy we got it. I felt like it kind of needed to be in the set. I would have been happier at rare. And I talked about this when we talked about Snapcaster a couple days ago. My thought on this is, I get it. I'm sure it's going to sell packs having it at mythic. We'll sell more packs at mythic than it will at rare. But at the same time, let's face it, does Wizards need to worry about selling these packs? I mean, the value that's included in the set, I mean, some distributors may be stuck with inventory for a little while, but Wizards isn't going to be. They're going to sell out of whatever they print of this stuff. People will take it, even again, if it's distributors. So they don't really need to necessarily do this, I don't think. So that's a little bit of a bummer for me. However, they built up a lot of equity with me this week with these cards that they've included. They've included amazing cards and created an incredible set, an incredible draft environment. They've reprinted so many of the necessary cards. And yeah, I could sit here and say there's a few that I still like to see over the next 24 hours. But at the same time, I mean, I can't complain if there was nothing else. This set is phenomenal. They knocked it out of the park. I can't really say any more good stuff about it. This is a huge win for the players that have needed to get their hands on these cards. And this will help, at least to some degree. Granted, I don't think it's going to crash the market. This isn't necessarily going to be released in the numbers of like Kaladesh or Aether Revolt gets released, right? But at the same time, it does feel like the print runs may be a little bit higher than some of these other master sets in the past. And I think that's going to go a long way to at least keep the market in check for a period of time. And that's awesome. So really fine job. Happy to see this card here. Even if it is mythic, I'll deal with it considering they have done some really amazing things this week for sure. Having said that, those are the cards for today. So we saw some incredible ones for sure. I don't even know what to say about this set anymore, right? So what's going to happen next? We're going to get the full set spoiled tomorrow. We'll begin our full set review. And we'll do a similar thing that we did with Eternal Masters. It's going to be more of a limited set review due to the fact that we kind of know what these cards already do in constructed formats, right? We've played with all of them and seen them played, but we're going to talk about the limited game and how everything kind of fits into the different archetypes and stuff like that. So until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.